In 2003, British cycling was the laughingstock of the professional racing world. In the previous 100 years, British cyclists had won exactly one gold medal at the Olympics. Their performance was so mediocre that one top bike manufacturer actually refused to sell them equipment because they were afraid it would hurt their brand's reputation to be seen with the British team. Then, they hired a man named Dave Brailsford. Brailsford didn't try to reinvent the wheel. He didn't promise a miracle overnight. Instead, he introduced a concept he called the aggregation of marginal gains. He explained it like this. The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. They redesigned the bike seats to make them more comfortable. That was a 1% gain. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip, a 1% gain. They hired a surgeon to teach the athletes the best way to wash their hands to avoid getting a cold, a 1% gain. They tested different types of massage gels. They tested different pillows for sleep. It sounded ridiculous. Washing hands? Pillows? This is professional sports, not a spa. But 5 years later, at the Beijing Olympics, the British cycling team won 60% of all the gold medals available. 4 years later in London, they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. In a 10-year span, they went from a joke to the greatest dynasty in the history of the sport. How does a team of ordinary athletes transform into world champions with standard equipment? They didn't do it by making one massive change. They did it by making 1,000 tiny ones. Welcome to the Atomic Habits Masterclass. We are leaving behind the world of Machiavellian strategy and entering the world of behavioral science. We are not looking at how to manipulate others. We are looking at how to program yourself. Over the next 6 parts, we are going to break down the operating system of the human mind. We are going to destroy the myths you have been told about willpower and motivation and replace them with the cold, hard math of systems.
Part 1. The Fundamentals. Most people walk through life looking for a breakthrough. We convince ourselves that if we want to lose 30 pounds, build $1 million business, or write a book, we need to make some earth-shattering change. We need to work 18-hour days. We need to starve ourselves. We need a revolution. James Clear argues that this is mathematically wrong. If you get 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you are done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to 0. Success is not a once-in-a-lifetime transformation. Success is the product of daily habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. You get what you repeat. The plateau of latent potential. If this math is so simple, why is it so hard to stick to a good habit? Why do we join the gym in January and quit in February? It is because of a concept called the plateau of latent potential. Imagine an ice cube sitting on a table in a freezing room. The room is 25 degrees. The ice is solid. You slowly heat the room. 26 degrees. Nothing happens. 27 degrees. Nothing happens. 28 degrees. Nothing happens. You are putting in the work. You are adding energy, but you see 0 results. This is where most people quit. They think, I've been working hard for a month and I haven't lost any weight. This isn't working. They are in the valley of disappointment. But then the room hits 31 degrees, still nothing. And finally, 32 degrees. The ice begins to melt. A 1-degree shift, seemingly no different from the shifts before it, unlocked a massive change. Your habits are the same. All the work you do while you are struggling is not wasted. It is being stored. You are heating the room. You just haven't hit 32 degrees yet. When the breakthrough finally happens, people will call you an overnight success. They will see the water melting. They won't see the energy you stored at 26, 27, and 28 degrees. The lesson: if you are struggling to build a habit, the problem is not your ability. The problem is that you have not yet crossed the plateau. Patience is not just a virtue, it is physics. Forget goals. Build systems. We live in a goal-obsessed society. I want to win the championship. I want to sell 10,000 books. I want to lose 20 pounds. Here's the controversial truth. Winners and losers have the exact same goals. Every Olympian wants to win the gold medal. Every candidate wants to get the job. If the winners and losers share the same goal, then the goal cannot be what differentiates them. The goal is the result you want. The system is the process that leads to those results. If you are a coach, your goal is to win a championship. Your system is how you recruit players and run practice. If you are a writer, your goal is to write a book. Your system is the writing schedule you follow each week. James Clear suggests a radical shift. Forget about your goals completely. Focus only on your system. If you ignored the score of the game and only focused on playing the best possible possession, would you still win? Yes. In fact, you might win by more. Goals are good for setting a direction, but they are terrible for making progress. The problems with goals: the yo-yo effect. Once you hit the goal, like running a marathon, you stop training. The motivation disappears because it was tied to the outcome. Binary happiness. You tell yourself, I will be happy only when I reach the goal. Until then, you are a failure. Systems allow you to be successful every time you perform the habit. Quote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." So, how do we build these systems? It starts deeper than you think. It starts with identity. Imagine two people resisting a cigarette. You offer a cigarette to the first person. They say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." This sounds reasonable, but look closer. They still believe they are a cigarette smoker who is trying to be something else. They are hoping their behavior will change, but their identity is the same. You offer a cigarette to the second person. They say, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a small difference, but it changes everything. This person no longer identifies with smoking. Behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last. You can want to be wealthy, but if your identity is someone who consumes rather than creates, you will always be pulled back to spending. You can want to be healthy, but if your identity is someone who prioritizes comfort, you will skip the workout. The two-step process to changing your identity. Your identity is not set in stone. It is literally your repeated beingness. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Decide the type of person you want to be. Do you want to be a writer, an athlete, a leader? Prove it to yourself with small wins. Every time you write one page, you cast a vote for "I am a writer." Every time you choose the salad over the fries, you cast a vote for "I am a healthy person." You don't need a unanimous vote to win an election. You just need a majority. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to cast more votes for the new you than the old you. The roadmap ahead. Over the next 5 parts, we're going to build your system using the 4 laws of behavior change. These are the levers we can pull to hack the human brain. Make it obvious. How to design your environment. Make it attractive. How to use dopamine to your advantage. Make it easy. How to stop procrastinating. Make it satisfying. How to make habits stick. Homework. The identity audit. Here's your first assignment. I want you to take a piece of paper and write down one major goal you have. I want to lose 30 pounds. Now, I want you to cross that out. Instead, ask yourself, who is the type of person that could achieve that outcome? Answer: a healthy person, an athlete. Now, write down 3 small votes you can cast for that identity tomorrow. Walk for 10 minutes. Drink a glass of water before coffee. Go to bed by 10:30. Focus on the votes, not the victory. In the next part, we're going to learn how to design your life so that success becomes inevitable. We are going to learn why self-control is a myth and how to become the architect of your environment. We're covering Law 1, Make it obvious. I'll see you in Part 2.
Part 2. Make it obvious. Environment design. Anne Thorndike, a doctor at Massachusetts General Hospital, had a crazy idea. She wanted to improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors without talking to a single one of them. She didn't want to nag them. She didn't want to put up posters saying, "Eat vegetables." She didn't want to ban junk food. Instead, she changed the environment. Originally, the hospital cafeteria had refrigerators next to the cash registers filled only with soda.
Thorndike added water bottles to those fridges. She also placed baskets of water bottles throughout the room. Soda was still available, it was just slightly harder to see, while water was suddenly everywhere. Over the next 3 months, soda sales dropped by 11.4%. Water sales increased by 25.8%. People didn't suddenly decide to be healthier. They didn't have a motivational breakthrough. They simply grabbed what was obvious. Welcome back to the Atomic Habits Masterclass. In Part 1, we learned about the 1% rule and identity. Today, we are diving into the first law of behavior change: make it obvious. We're going to learn why self-control is a myth and how to design your life so that doing the right thing is the path of least resistance. The myth of self-control. We tend to admire people who have great self-discipline. We look at the person who eats clean and works out every day and think, wow, they must have incredible willpower. They must be fighting temptation constantly. James Clear says, disciplined people are better at structuring their lives so that they do not need heroic willpower and self-control. They don't fight temptation, they avoid it. If you have cookies on your counter, you will eat them. It doesn't matter how disciplined you are. Every time you walk into the kitchen, your brain has to make a decision: eat or don't eat. Eventually, your willpower battery runs out, decision fatigue, and you eat the cookie. If you hide the cookies in the top shelf of the pantry, you eat fewer of them. If you don't buy the cookies at all, you eat none of them. You haven't increased your willpower, you have simply removed the cue. The strategy: be the architect of your environment, not the victim of it. If you want to practice guitar, do not keep the guitar in its case in the closet. Buy a stand and put it in the middle of the living room. If you want to drink more water, fill 5 bottles in the morning and place them in every room of your house. Make the good habit impossible to miss. The implementation intention. Most people are vague about their habits. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to write more. These are wishes, not plans. To make a habit stick, you need an implementation intention. This is a specific plan that defines the when and the where. Hundreds of studies show that people who write down exactly when and where they will perform a new habit are 2x to 3x more likely to actually do it. The formula: I will, behavior, at time, in location. Bad. I will read more. Good. I will read 10 pages at 7 a.m. in my kitchen chair. By defining the time and place, you remove the need to decide. When the clock strikes 7 a.m., there is no debate. It is simply what you do. Habit stacking. We can take this one step further with a technique called habit stacking. The Diderot effect states that obtaining a new possession often creates a spiral of consumption that leads to additional purchases. You buy a new dress, so you need new shoes, so you need earrings. One action triggers the next. We can use this for good. Instead of setting a time, 7 a.m., we anchor the new habit to an existing habit that is already hardwired into our brain. The formula is: after I, behavior, I will, new habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I take off my work shoes, I will immediately put on my workout clothes. After I sit down for dinner, I will say one thing I'm grateful for. The current habit becomes the cue. You are hacking your brain's existing neural pathways. You are essentially saying, hey brain, you know that thing we've done every morning for 10 years? Great, now just add this little extra step to the end of it. Context is king. Here is a secret about habits. They are tied to locations. If you try to work on your side hustle while sitting on the couch where you usually watch Netflix and eat pizza, you will fail. Why? Because that couch is anchored to relaxation in your brain. Your brain expects Netflix. It fights the work. You need to create context zones. The desk is only for work, no social media. The bed is only for sleep, no phone. The chair is only for reading. If you mix the contexts, you mix the habits. If you live in a small apartment, create microzones. When I sit on the left side of the table, I am working. When I sit on the right side of the table, I'm eating. Even a small change in environment can reset the room's energy. Inversion. Make it invisible. Finally, we must apply the first law in reverse to break bad habits. Make it invisible. If you are distracted by your phone, do not put it face down on the desk. Put it in another room. If you play too many video games, unplug the console and put it in the closet after every use. The extra friction of having to plug it back in will often be enough to stop the mindless habit. Radical environment design. When James Clear wanted to write, he realized he was distracted by the internet, so he would ask his assistant to take the power cord of his router and lock it in a drawer until 5 p.m. He physically removed the option to be distracted. He didn't need willpower, he just needed a key. Homework. The environment audit. Here is your assignment for this section. I want you to perform an environment audit of your main workspace or living room. Identify the friction. What stands between you and your good habit? Example, to go to the gym, I have to find my shoes, find my water bottle, and pack my bag. That's too much friction. Fix, pack the bag the night before and put it in front of the door. Identify the cues. What items in your room trigger bad habits? Example, the TV remote is on the coffee table. Fix, put the remote in a drawer. Put a book on the coffee table. Design the room for the person you want to become. In the next part, we are going to look at the engine of motivation. We are going to learn why we crave junk food and social media and how to hack our dopamine levels to make hard work feel addictive. We are covering Law 2, Make It Attractive. I'll see you in Part 3.
Part 3. Make it attractive. Dopamine and desire. In the 1940s, scientists tested a radical idea on rats. They implanted electrodes into the brains of rats, specifically targeting the area responsible for dopamine release. They gave the rats a lever. Every time the rat pressed the lever, it sent a jolt of pleasure to its brain. The results were terrifying. The rats stopped eating. They stopped drinking water. They stopped mating. They just pressed the lever again and again and again until they died of exhaustion. They died because they had no desire to do anything else. The lever was the ultimate reward. Now, look at modern humans. We carry the lever in our pockets. Social media, junk food, pornography, video games. These are supernormal stimuli, exaggerated versions of reality designed to hijack our dopamine receptors. A cheeseburger is more calorie-dense than anything in nature. Instagram is more socially validating than a real conversation. We are the rats, and we are pressing the lever. Welcome back to the Atomic Habits Masterclass. In Part 2, we learned how to design your environment. Today, we are diving into the engine of motivation. We are going to learn how to fight back against the super stimuli of the modern world and how to make difficult habits feel addictive. We are covering the second law of behavior change. Make it attractive. The dopamine feedback loop. For years, scientists thought dopamine was about pleasure. They thought it was the chemical you felt after you ate the cookie. They were wrong. Dopamine is not about pleasure. It is about craving. When you see the notification on your phone, your dopamine spikes before you check it. It is the anticipation of the reward that drives action. Once you check the phone, the dopamine actually drops. Desire is the engine that drives behavior. If you don't want it, you won't do it. The problem is that good habits like exercise, writing, saving money have a delayed reward. The dopamine payoff is months away. Bad habits like sugar, scrolling, spending have an immediate reward. The dopamine is instant. To win, we have to hack this loop. We have to make the hard things feel good now. Strategy 1. Temptation bundling. Ronan Byrne, an engineering student in Ireland, realized he was watching too much Netflix and exercising too little. He didn't rely on willpower. He used his engineering skills. He hacked his stationary bike and connected it to his laptop. Then he wrote a program that would only allow Netflix to play if the pedals were moving at a certain speed. If he slowed down, Netflix paused. He eliminated obesity and binge watching in one move. He was bundling a temptation, Netflix, with a necessary action, cycling. The formula is, I will only blank habit I want to do when I am blank habit I need to do. I will only listen to my favorite true crime podcast while I am cleaning the house. I will only check Instagram while I am doing a plank. I will only get a pedicure while I am processing overdue emails. You stop seeing the need to do as a chore. You start seeing it as the ticket to your reward.
You begin to look forward to cleaning the house because it means you get to hear the next chapter of the story. Strategy 2. Join the tribe. We are herd animals. The desire to fit in is stronger than the desire to be smart, rich, or healthy. If you are the only vegetarian in a family of barbecue lovers, staying vegetarian is incredibly hard. You are fighting the tribe. But if you join a vegan cooking club, suddenly eating vegetables is easy. It's what the tribe does. It signals status. The rule is, join a group where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. If you want to read more, don't just sit in your room, join a book club. When you see everyone else reading, your brain thinks, this is what smart people do. I want to be like them. The habit becomes attractive not because of the result, but because of the belonging. Look at CrossFit. Why is it so popular? It's expensive and painful. People stay because of the community. They stay because if they miss a workout, their friends text them, "Where were you?" Social pressure is the most powerful form of accountability. Strategy 3. Reprogram your brain. This is a subtle mindset shift, but it is powerful. Stop saying, "I have to." Start saying, "I get to." I have to go to the gym sounds like a burden. It sounds like a punishment. I get to go to the gym sounds like a privilege. It implies you have a healthy body that is capable of movement. I have to pick up my kids is a chore. I get to pick up my kids reminds you that you have children who are safe and alive. James Clear talks about a man in a wheelchair who told him, "Every time my wife complains about walking to the store, I think about how much I would pay to be able to walk to the store." You can also create motivation rituals. Athletes do this. A baseball player taps the plate 3 times before batting. A tennis player bounces the ball 5 times. They're creating a neurological anchor. If you put on your headphones and play the same focus playlist every time you write, eventually just hearing the first song will trigger a state of focus. You are conditioning yourself like Pavlov's dog. The music rings the bell and your brain starts to work. The chemistry of cravings. How to break bad habits. Now, let's inverse the law. How do we break a bad habit? Make it unattractive. You have to reframe the story you tell yourself. Alan Carr's easy way to stop smoking is the most successful method in history. It doesn't use patches or gum. It uses logic. He systematically destroys the benefits of smoking. You think smoking relaxes you? No, it just relieves the stress caused by the nicotine withdrawal from the previous cigarette. You think it makes you social? No, it makes you smell bad and isolates you. By the end of the book, you don't feel like you're giving up something good. You feel like you're escaping a prison. The habit becomes repulsive. Try this. Next time you crave junk food, don't just eat it. Look at it. Visualize the factory where it was made. Visualize the oil, the chemicals, the bleached flour. Visualize it sitting in your stomach, making you sluggish and tired. Associate the habit with the pain, not the pleasure. Homework. The bundle. Here is your assignment for this week. I want you to create one temptation bundle. Identify a guilty pleasure you love. Podcasts, YouTube, chocolate, gossip blogs. Identify a necessary evil you hate. Folding laundry, answering emails, treadmill. Link them. I am literally not allowed to enjoy pleasure unless I am doing work. Write it down, stick to it for 3 days. Watch how quickly your resistance to the hard work vanishes. In the next part, we are going to tackle the biggest enemy of progress, friction. We are going to learn how we are lazy by nature and how the 2-minute rule can cure procrastination forever. We are covering Law 3, Make It Easy. I'll see you in Part 4.
Part 4. Make it easy. The law of least effort. On the first day of class, Jerry Uelsman, a professor at the University of Florida, divided his film photography students into 2 groups. To the left side of the room, he said, "You are the quantity group. Your grade will depend solely on the amount of work you produce. If you submit 100 photos, you get an A. If you submit 90, you get a B. I don't care how good they are, just hit the number." To the right side of the room, he said, "You are the quality group. You only have to produce 1 photo for the entire semester. But to get an A, it must be nearly perfect." At the end of the term, he was shocked. The best photos didn't come from the quality group. They came from the quantity group. Why?
Because while the quality group sat around speculating about perfection, arguing about lighting, and reading theory, they took almost no photos. They were paralyzed by the difficulty of the task. The quantity group just started shooting. They experimented. They made mistakes. They learned from those mistakes. By taking 100 bad photos, they accidentally learned how to take a great one. The quality group got stuck in motion, planning, strategizing, learning. The quantity group took action, doing the thing. Welcome back to the Atomic Habits Masterclass. In part 3, we hacked your motivation. Today, we are going to hack your execution. We are going to learn why planning is often just a fancy form of procrastination and how to stop overthinking and start doing. We are covering the third law of behavior change. Make it easy. The law of least effort. Let's be honest, human beings are lazy. We don't like to expend energy. This isn't a character flaw, it's a survival mechanism. For 99% of human history, calories were scarce. If you ran around burning energy for no reason, you died. So our brains evolved to conserve energy. We naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. This is the law of least effort. If you want to read more, but your book is on a high shelf in another room and your phone is in your pocket, you will check your phone. Not because you are addicted, but because the phone has zero friction and the book has high friction. To build a good habit, you must reduce the friction to near zero. To break a bad habit, you must increase the friction until it becomes annoying. The garden hose analogy. Imagine a garden hose with a kink in it. Very little water is coming out. You have two options to get more water. Crank up the valve, motivation, you can force more water through. It requires a lot of effort and might burst the pipe. Remove the kink, friction, you simply straighten the hose. The water flows naturally. Most people try to crank up the valve. They try to psych themselves up to go to the gym. Smart people remove the kink. They join a gym that is on their drive home from work, not one that is 20 minutes out of the way. The 2-minute rule. The biggest barrier to any new habit is starting. A 30-minute run feels daunting. A 2-minute walk feels easy. But you can't run for 30 minutes unless you put on your shoes. James Clear introduces the most powerful tool in the book, the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Goal: read before bed each night. 2-minute habit: read 1 page. Goal: do 30 minutes of yoga. 2-minute habit: take out my yoga mat. Goal: study for class. 2-minute habit: open my notes. You might think, this is a trick. I know I have to do more than 1 page. Why bother? Because you are mastering the art of showing up. A habit must be established before it can be improved. You cannot optimize a habit that doesn't exist. If you go to the gym and stay for only 2 minutes and then leave, you are still casting a vote for the identity of athlete. You are building the groove. Once you start, it is much easier to continue. Physics calls this inertia. The 2-minute rule is the gateway drug to productive habits. Prime the environment. We talked about environment design in part 2, make it obvious, but now we use it for ease. You want to reset your room after you use it, so it is ready for the next time. The chef's mise en place. Professional chefs never finish cooking until their station is clean and the knives are sharpened for tomorrow. The writer. Leave your laptop open to a blank page. The runner. Put your socks inside your running shoes right next to the bed. If you have to spend 10 minutes searching for your gear, you have already lost the battle against the law of least effort. Make the right action the default action. Inversion. Increase friction. Now let's look at bad habits. How do we stop doing things we love? We make them annoying. Social media, delete the app from your phone. Use the browser version only. It's clunky, slow, and annoying. You won't scroll for hours because the experience sucks. Spending? Unsave your credit card details from Amazon. Force yourself to get up, find your wallet, and type in the 16 digits every single time. That extra 30 seconds of friction is often enough for your logical brain to kick in and say, do I really need this? TV. Take the batteries out of the remote control. Put them in a drawer. If you want to watch TV, you have to put the batteries in. You are not banning the behavior, you are just making it inconvenient. The ultimate commitment device. Sometimes friction isn't enough. We need a lock. Victor Hugo, the famous French writer, was procrastinating on writing The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He was partying and entertaining guests instead of working. His publisher was furious. So, Hugo did something extreme. He collected all of his clothes, his suits, his coats, and his pants, and locked them in a large chest. He gave the key to his assistant with strict orders not to return it until the book was finished. He was left with nothing to wear but a large, ugly shawl. He couldn't go out, he couldn't host guests, he had no choice but to write. He finished the book weeks ahead of schedule. This is a commitment device, a choice you make in the present that locks down your behavior in the future. Digital, use an app like Freedom to block the internet for 2 hours. Financial, set up an automatic transfer to your savings account the day you get paid. You can't spend money you don't see. Homework, the 2-minute downscale. Here is your assignment. Take the habit you have been struggling with the most, e.g., working out for an hour. Scale it down to the 2-minute version. Put on my workout shoes. For the next 5 days, your only goal is to put the shoes on. If you put them on and then take them off, you win. If you put them on and do 5 minutes, you win. But you are not allowed to judge yourself on the workout, only on the shoes. Master the show up. In the next part, we are going to look at the final law. We are going to learn why we prefer bad habits because they feel good now, and how to make good habits feel just as satisfying. We are covering Law 4, Make it satisfying. I'll see you in Part 5.
Part 5. Make it satisfying. Reinforcement and tracking. In 1993, a 23-year-old rookie stockbroker named Trent Dyersmid began his career at a bank in British Columbia. He had 0 connections. He had 0 experience. The odds of him succeeding were near 0. But Trent had a secret weapon on his desk. Every morning, he placed 2 glass jars on his desk. The jar on the left was filled with 120 paper clips. The jar on the right was empty. Every time he made a sales call, he would pick up 1 paperclip and move it to the other jar. He told himself, I am not going home until the first jar is empty. He didn't focus on the rejections. He didn't focus on the commissions. He focused on moving the paperclips. Within 18 months, he was bringing in $5 million in business for the firm. By age 24, he was making $75,000 a year, equivalent to $150,000 today. Trent understood something that most people miss. We need to see our progress. When you are building a long-term habit, the results are invisible. You run for a week and the scale doesn't move. You write for a month and nobody buys your book. The paperclip strategy gave him something the long-term goal couldn't: immediate satisfaction. Welcome back to the Atomic Habits Masterclass. In Part 4, we learned how to make starting easy. Today, we are going to learn how to keep going. We are going to master the 4th law of behavior change: make it satisfying. The cardinal rule of behavior change. Here is the golden rule of animal psychology. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. This sounds obvious, but it contradicts how modern society works. We live in a delayed return environment. If you save money today, you get wealth in 20 years. Immediate pain, delayed reward. If you go to the gym today, you get abs in 6 months. Immediate pain, delayed reward. Now look at bad habits. If you smoke today, you get relaxation now. Immediate reward. The cancer comes 20 years later. If you skip work to play video games, you get fun now. Immediate reward. The firing comes next month. Our brains are evolved for the savannah, not the office. We prioritize the now. This is why good habits are so hard. The costs are today, the benefits are tomorrow. To win, we have to flip the script. We need to add a little bit of immediate pleasure to the habits that pay off in the long run. Reinforcement, the leather jacket fund. You need to feel successful the moment you finish the habit. James Clear tells the story of a couple who wanted to stop eating out so they could save for a trip to Europe. It was hard.
Cooking at home is work, so they opened a savings account labeled Trip to Europe. Every time they skipped a restaurant meal and cooked at home, they immediately transferred $50 into that account. They saw the number go up. It wasn't just saving money, boring, it was buying freedom, exciting. The act of cooking became immediately satisfying because they got the dopamine hit of seeing the balance grow. The strategy: give yourself a reward that reinforces your identity. Bad reward: I went for a run, so I'm going to eat a donut. This conflicts with the identity of a healthy person. Good reward: I went for a run, so I'm going to put $5 toward a deep tissue massage. This supports the identity of a body that needs care. The habit tracker: don't break the chain. The most effective way to make progress satisfying is habit tracking. Jerry Seinfeld, the famous comedian, used this to write jokes. He had a big wall calendar. For every day he wrote a joke, he put a big red X on that day. After a few days, he had a chain. His only goal was don't break the chain. Why does this work? It makes it obvious. You see the calendar every time you walk in the room. It makes it attractive. The chain of X's looks impressive. You want to extend it. It makes it satisfying. Crossing off that day feels good. It's a mini celebration. Warning: do not track too many things. If you try to track 10 habits, you will spend your whole day tracking. Pick one keystone habit. Track it relentlessly. How to recover: the rule of never miss twice. Perfection is a trap. You will miss a day, you will get sick, you will have an emergency. The difference between professionals and amateurs is not that professionals never miss, it's that professionals get back on track immediately. James Clear's rule: never miss twice. If you miss one workout, that's an accident. If you miss 2 workouts, that's the start of a new habit. The first mistake doesn't ruin you. It's the spiral that follows the mistake that ruins you. This is the all or nothing mentality. Well, I ate a slice of pizza, so my diet is ruined. I might as well eat the whole box. No. If you get a flat tire, do you slash the other 3 tires? No. You change the tire and keep driving. The bad workout. On days when you feel terrible, do not skip. Do a bad workout. Go to the gym for 5 minutes. Do 10 push-ups. Why? Because you're preserving the identity. It's more important to be the person who didn't quit than to be the person who had a great workout. A workout that happens is 100% better than a workout that doesn't. Inversion: the accountability partner. Finally, how do we make bad habits immediately unsatisfying? We make the pain public. We get an accountability partner. A straightforward example: the running contract. Write a contract: I will pay my friend $50 if I don't run 3 times this week. And, this is crucial, the friend must take the money. If you know that skipping a run will cost you $50 cash today, the immediate pain of losing money is greater than the immediate pain of running. Suddenly, running is the easier option. Thomas Frank, a productivity YouTuber, took this to the extreme. He set up an automated tweet. If he didn't check in by 6 a.m., the tweet would fire. The tweet said, "It's 6:10 and I'm not up because I'm lazy. Reply to this for $5 via PayPal, limit 5. The fear of losing $25 and being publicly humiliated woke him up every single day. Homework: buy a calendar. Here's your assignment. Get a physical calendar or use a dedicated app like Streaks. Pick one habit you established in part 1. Put an X on today. That's it. Start the chain. Your only job tomorrow is to get another X. In the final part of our masterclass, we are going to look at the advanced tactics. We'll discuss the Goldilocks rule of peak performance, how to stay motivated when the habit becomes boring, and the downsides of creating good habits. We're covering Part 6, Advanced Tactics. I'll see you in the finale.
Part 6, Advanced Tactics, Mastery and Boredom. Imagine you're playing tennis. If you play against a 4-year-old child, you will become bored immediately. It is too easy. You will win every point without trying. If you play against Serena Williams, you will become demotivated immediately. It is too hard. You will never score a point. But if you play against someone who is equal to you, maybe just slightly better, something magical happens.
You focus. The world fades away. You are fully engaged in the task. You are in the zone. You win some points, you lose some points. You have a chance of winning, but you have to strain for it. This is the state of flow, and it leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. How do we stay motivated for the long haul? The answer is the Goldilocks rule. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. Welcome to the finale of the Atomic Habits Masterclass. We have built the system, we have hacked the environment, we have mastered the dopamine. Now we are going to learn how to sustain it for a lifetime. We are going to learn why boredom is the true enemy of success and the formula for turning a simple habit into world-class mastery. The Goldilocks rule. Most people think they lose motivation because the goal is too hard. Actually, often it is because the goal is too easy or too vague. If you want to maintain a habit, you must constantly manage the difficulty. If you are learning to play guitar and you only play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for 6 months, you will quit. You are bored. If you try to play a complex Jimi Hendrix solo on day 1, you will quit. You are overwhelmed. You need to find the just right zone. The strategy: once a habit becomes easy, you must advance it slightly. Phase 1, go to the gym. Establish the habit. Phase 2, lift 50 pounds. Master the form. Phase 3, lift 55 pounds. Challenge the muscle. You should succeed about 50% of the time. This is the sweet spot of feedback. If you win too much, you get complacent. If you lose too much, you give up. Progress requires that you constantly push the boundary of your competence. The greatest threat to success? We assume that failure is the enemy. James Clear argues the greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. When you start a new business or a workout routine or a YouTube channel, it is exciting. You have noob energy. But then reality sets in. You have to go to the gym on a rainy Tuesday when you are tired. You have to write the next chapter when you have no ideas. It stops being new. It becomes repetitive. This is the boredom trap. When people get bored, they think, something is wrong. I shouldn't be bored. I should be passionate. Maybe I need a new strategy. Maybe I need a new diet. So they jump from strategy to strategy, never sticking with one long enough to see the compound interest. The truth: success is boring. If you look at the greatest athletes in the world, Michael Phelps, Kobe Bryant, they didn't have a secret magical training routine. They just did the same fundamental drills over and over again, thousands of times, long after everyone else got bored and went home. The quote: "The only difference between the elite and the amateur is that the elite knows how to handle the boredom of doing the same work every day." You have to fall in love with the boredom. The downside of good habits? Here is a warning. Habits are necessary, but they are not sufficient for mastery. Habits create automaticity. This is good because it frees up brain power. You don't have to think about how to tie your shoes or back out of the driveway. But this is also dangerous. When you stop thinking about what you are doing, you stop improving. You go on autopilot. Think about driving a car. When you first learned, you were hyper-focused. You improved rapidly. Now you have driven for 20 years. Are you a better driver today than you were 10 years ago? Probably not. You reached a level of good enough and you coasted. Your habit became a rut. To achieve mastery, you need a new formula. Habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. You need the habit to show up automatically, the system. But once you are there, you need deliberate practice to push the skill. The amateur writer writes every day, habit. The master writer writes every day, plus analyzes their weak sentences and studies vocabulary, deliberate practice. You must periodically review your performance. Without review, habits make you sloppy. With review, habits make you a master. Conclusion: the secret to results. We have reached the end of our journey. Let's look back at where we started. We talked about the British cycling team. They didn't win because of one massive leap. They won because of the aggregation of marginal gains. There's an ancient stonecutter's credo that hangs in the locker room of the San Antonio Spurs NBA team. It reads, "When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock perhaps 100 times without much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow it will split in two, and I know it was not that blow that did it, but all that had gone before." You are the stonecutter. Every time you choose the salad, you are hammering the rock. Every time you write a page, you are hammering the rock. Every time you save $1, you are hammering the rock. You might not see the crack yet. You might be in the valley of disappointment, but the crack is coming. The breakthrough is inevitable. If you focus on the system, if you embrace the boredom, and if you trust the math, you cannot lose. Success is not a goal to reach, it is a way of life to live. Final homework, the annual review. Your final assignment is the one James Clear does every December. It is the annual review. I want you to schedule a meeting with yourself for 1 hour this week. Ask yourself 3 questions. What went well this year? Where did your habits stick? What didn't go well? Where did the system break? What am I working toward? How do I need to adjust my identity? Be honest, check your blind spots, then get back to hammering the rock. Thank you for listening to the Atomic Habits Masterclass.